Welcome to the Deploying Windows Clients using the Client Deployment Wizard lab exercise for discovering endpoint client implementation methods and strategies. In this lab, we're going to install Symantec Endpoint Protection client software on a lab workstation, and we're also going to install the client software on the CEPM management server itself using different deployment methods. So let's get started. To remotely push and install Symantec Endpoint Protection to clients, we have to ensure that there are some security features that are configured correctly first. So we're going to start by checking that the Windows firewall is off. We actually have a pop-up on the screen that's telling us that, but we're going to just confirm that setting. That's one of the settings that we want to make sure is off. We can see that it is in fact off. Switching back to Control Panel, the Network and Sharing Center, under Advanced Settings, we also want to verify that we have network discovery and file and printer sharing enabled. This will allow us to be able to remotely push the client to the Windows desktop device. Next, we need to ensure that Windows User Account Control is disabled. If enabled, this will block remote distribution of software, and we can turn this off following a Microsoft KB information article. We're going to navigate to the registry key area shown, and then create a new key. We'll choose Edit, New DWORD Value, and we'll type in the name of the key, Local Account Token Filter Policy. Once we've created that key, we can modify it and change the value to 1 to enable this key. We can close the registry editor. And our next step is to make sure that we have remote registry service enabled. We'll navigate to Services, scroll down to find Remote Registry, and we will set the start value to automatic. And then start the service. We'll just verify that that service is running. And those are the steps that we need for pre-deployment of the SEP14 client package. Symantec Endpoint Protection includes pre-configured client installation packages, but in this exercise we're going to create some custom packages. We're going to start with an install package, and we're going to simply name this No Mail Scanning. It's going to be a install feature set. We're going to turn off the mail scanner for this particular feature set and say OK. And then we're going to create a simple client install settings package as well that we'll use for some of our lab installations. Client install settings, and we're going to add a new setting. And we're going to call this interactive installation. We'll have a brief description. This will allow us to run the installation interactively, and we'll be able to be prompted for a restart of the client. We'll be able to see when that completes in our lab environment. We'll change the installation type to interactive. And then we'll choose to remove any previous logs and policies and restart the client server communication setting, and we'll say OK. So now we've created a custom feature set and a custom install setting that we can use to deploy to our clients. So we'll navigate to Clients, choose our default group, and then we will install a client. We're going to leave the default new package and select one of the existing packages. It will default to Windows, which is what we're going to use, but we will choose our custom feature set and our custom install setting that we've just created. We'll also choose to include the virus definitions in our client package. Verify that we have the correct package for a Windows client. And then we'll say next. Here are the options for how we can deploy the package. In this case, we're going to use a remote push. And now we're going to search our network for the clients to install. You can use Browse Network if your environment is configured to allow you to browse the network. And in this case, we're going to use Search Network to search for our client computers. I can find computers and then search by IP range, computer name, things like that. We have a few computers in our lab network, and we're going to choose Workstation 01 to deploy our remote client. We're going to be prompted to log in with administrator credentials for the workstation itself. And this happens to be in a work group in our lab environment. We'll say OK. We'll test the connection. We can see we have our computer is now available for the software to be installed. And we'll click Next to begin the installation process. We can see our current protection indicates that that computer is unprotected. We'll allow this package to be deployed, and we'll wait for the status to change. Okay, we can see that our deployment status indicates that it is now successful. And it tells us that we can see we have 1 succeeded and 0 failures. We'll click Next and finish. Now switching to our client computer, we'll open File Explorer and we'll take a look at some of the packages that are being created on this workstation during the deployment. So we'll navigate here to the local file system. We see a temp folder has been created, and inside we have a client install folder package as a result of the remote push to this client workstation. If we open up Task Manager, we'll also see, as we sort our processes, that we have a Symantec Service Framework process that is running that's handling the client installation as well. It'll just take a few minutes for this deployment to push, and this will vary by your network. And we'll just allow this installation to finish. Next thing we'll see is this. This is the result of our interactive setting that we used, and we're going to be prompted to restart that. Because we used that interactive installation, we could see that pop-up message. The computer will restart to complete the installation. As we log back in, we can now see that we have a Symantec Endpoint Protection icon available. It indicates that it's been deployed. Switching back to our SEPA Manager console, we can take a look at a deployment report in the system. We'll click on Reports. We'll navigate to the Computer Status Report. And we'll use a deployment report and click Create the Report. And we can see that number of clients successfully installed is now 1. Next, we're going to configure a client installation package for the SEPM server itself. We're going to save this package. You're going to use a different deployment method. We're going to save this locally and then install the client on the workstation. And in this case, we're going to use a modified package. Partly we're going to export an existing package, and we're then going to save it to a local shared directory. In this case, we're going to use the already pre-configured full protection for servers, slightly different setting than a client setting, but we'll choose our interactive installation settings for the package. In this case, we will not include the virus definitions. We'll choose our default group and say OK. The package will be exported to the location that we specified. And when that's completed, we can then navigate to that directory and install our client. This is the package that we've just created. As we dig into this package structure, we can see we have a setup exe, and we'll launch that and let the client install on the SEPA manager. And this is an interactive installation, so we'll be clicking through some of these client install pieces. We'll accept a licensing agreement. And we'll use a custom install just to show you an option. A little bit different than a client install. We're going to use a standard size client, but we'll see because we're using the full protection for servers, we already have some protection technologies that are not included in that basic package. And for this installation, we will choose to disable running live update at this time. And we will accept the defaults and install. Installation wizard is now completed. And say finish, and we'll be prompted to restart to complete the installation. So once the system restarts, we can log back in, and we'll again see that we have the endpoint protection icon down in the lower right part of your screen. The client is now installed on the SEPA server as well.